Hello and welcome to Food for You and the Planet, a fresh new podcast that explores healthy and environmentally sustainable food solutions. This podcast is brought to you by Healthy Plan Eat Online Farmers Market. I'm Dr. Rosemary Ostfeld and I'm your host. Together, we'll hear from leaders in environmental science, agriculture, medicine, nutrition, entrepreneurship, and more. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to hear all the latest in healthy and sustainable food with food for you and the planet. Today's episode features Kate Mendenhall, Executive Director of the Organic Farmers Association. Kate has served as the Executive Director of the Organic Farmers Association since it was founded in 2016. Before OFA, she built a career working with organic farmer organizations from California, New York, and Iowa, getting to know what organic farmers need to be successful in different regions and markets. She now lives in her hometown in Iowa, where she balances running a small, diversified organic livestock farm, raising 2 kids, and leading OFA. Her nationwide experience and dedication to organic farmers throughout her career make leading the Organic Farmers Association her dream job, and she is a fierce advocate for what organic farmers need and want from the ground up. Thank you so much for being here today, Kate.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's get started. What is the Organic Farmers Association and what type of work does it do?
Yeah, so the Organic Farmers Association is a national nonprofit. We represent certified organic farmers from across the country. So we are a membership-based organization, but we do gain feedback from certified organic farmers. So we do feel like we represent the 17,500 certified organic farmers located in the domestic United States. And that is who we advocate for in Washington, D.C. and within the U.S. Department of Agriculture and just, nationally on different national issues like market crises or marketing questions in the press, etc. So we always ask organic farmers what they need, and that determines our agenda and our policy positions going forward.
How did you become interested in sustainable food and agriculture and become the executive director of OFA?
Yeah, that's a great question. I grew up in a small agricultural town in Northwest Iowa during the farm crisis, and I think I just witnessed a lot of industrial agriculture coming to fruition and many family farms having to dissolve their family businesses, which was it's a really stressful situation for farmers because not only are they losing their family business, but they're also losing their home and the generational grounding to a sense of place. And so it can be very depressing and really affect a family and a town. And so I was witnessing that, thinking that, well, there has to be a better solution to keep the culture of family farming alive in this country and supporting our rural communities, because once we lost those family farms across Iowa, we also lost a lot of towns. I lost a lot of local schools, etc. And I know that Iowa isn't the only place where that has happened. And so I started seeking for a different system and a different solution. And organic is what really grabbed me. I had the opportunity to go to college in Maine, and they have such a vibrant small farm and rural celebration of farming culture happening in Maine. And so I was able to learn a lot about what a thriving organic farming movement could look like. And it just sort of set me off on a path. So I traveled around to different countries, living with organic farmers, working on their farms, interviewing farmers to really try to find out what was leading farmers to organic, what was working under different political systems, what was not working, and tried to bring some of that knowledge back to the United States, and worked for the organic movement in New York State for many years with other organizations in the Northeast, and saw that there was a need for a stronger voice at the national level for organic farmers. There were some issues where farmers felt like their specific voice garnered from the ground up was missing in conversation and really needed an organization advocating for them specifically, where they were in control and leading that conversation. And so through many years of conversations with organic farmers and organic organizations supporting them, we developed the Organic Farming Association to be that voice. And it is farmer-led, farmer-controlled from the ground up. Only certified organic farmers have a vote at our leadership and also on our policy positions. And so we are very authentically representing what is most crucial to farmers on the ground at the national level to make sure that that unified voice is being heard loud and clear.
Can you tell me a little bit about your farm and how you implement organic practices on it?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a farmer. I didn't have the benefit of growing up on a farm, but you couldn't help but drive by loads of farms on the way to school every day and just around town. And so it was always something that was really interesting to me. But having grown up in the farm crisis in a very corn and soybeans majority area of the state, going into farming was not something that anyone was encouraging me to do, but it still sort of grabbed at my heart. So once I found organic, it was still something I really wanted to do. And living in upstate New York, I helped a lot of farmers, young farmers, beginning farmers, a lot of folks coming from New York City, starting small farms in New York. I figured, well, surely if these New Yorkers can figure it out, this Iowa girl can start a farm too. And so I moved back to my hometown because I really believe in folks going back and helping grow their home communities. And my husband and I were able to purchase an 18.5 acre farm, and I manage it myself with some help from my retired father, and other family members chip in, when they have time to help. We raise pastured pigs, pastured broiler chickens, and turkeys on the farm. And we sell, and it's certified organic in a perennial pasture. So it's really done provided some benefits to the local watershed, where our farm is sort of positioned right in the middle of a really important local watershed that drives our local economy with lake recreation and summer tourism. And so I've designed my farm business also around that tourism. So we have a little farm store at our barn. We are always open to folks visiting to see what we're doing and come walk out and see the animals. We used to do all of our own poultry processing on the farm, and we're trying now to scale up a little bit and use a local processor to be able to provide some other products that our customers are wanting, and to be able to better align with the high tourist season. But it's a very community grounded farm. We feed a lot of folks year round who live here. And even though it's still a small town, very agricultural town, there are so many kids who have not ever been on a farm before. And so I feel very honored to be able to provide that experience for kids to see pigs living outside, running around being pigs, and chickens growing, and turkeys running around and gobbling and following them around. So, yeah, we're both educational in spirit and trying to steward the land and provide healthy food to our community.
What are some of the challenges and benefits of becoming USDA certified organic?
I think, firstly, for me, it is making a conscious effort to join the movement and to be counted. And I think that being counted is really important to show how many farmers are interested in organic and how many consumers are looking for organic, because the growth of organic and showing those numbers makes an impression at the policy level, makes our own local representatives respond as more farmers in Iowa are choosing to be organic. Then our state policy has to look to this growing market, and the same, nationally. So for me, that's a big motivator. I don't necessarily need to be certified organic at my small farm, very direct sales scale. But what it does do for me as well is it helps guide me in my management. And it keeps me honest when things get really tricky and frustrating, like Canadian thistles. I have to abide by these standards that are written to really embody the best stewardship practices. And so um, it encourages me and provides some guidelines for how to manage those on-farm challenges. And so, I find it helpful in that way. It also really helps me as a business person to keep really good records and to be following my sales and my inputs and know that my sourcing is true to the integrity of the final product I'm trying to produce. So it has all those benefits, and those benefits are really a result of being counted as part of the USDA Certified Organic Program. And it also just makes it really easy to communicate to my customers about what I am selling and what I am producing and the values that are inherent in that certification.
Can you tell me a little bit about the USDA National Organic Program and why the National Organic Program is important?
Sure. Yeah, I think not every country has their own national organic program, and it is very valuable, especially for the United States, that is the largest global consumer market of organic. We unfortunately cannot produce everything we are consuming in this country domestically. That's one of the goals of Organic Farmers Association, is to close that gap for domestic production to meet more domestic demand, but we are importing a lot of products. And so the National Organic Program is really important in helping maintain a consistent standard for what organic is meaning on the shelves of our grocery stores so that consumers know what they're buying and can feel confident in that integrity level. But I will have to say that the National Organic Program was created in the early 2000s after 20 years of really thoughtful development from grassroots state and local certification agencies that were started by farmers, concerned consumers, people really wanting to develop this new system of an alternative way of farming and very healthy food for consumers. So, our National Organic Program has everything to thank for those pioneers who started it across the country, but we also were seeing a need for a national uniform standard to connect all of these great certifiers. And so it's important that we have both. And it's important that the National Organic Program is consistently responding to the growth of the movement and what organic farmers are needing in the market and what organic farmers want to see represented in the standards. Because it's now at the national level and not at these local levels, it takes a little bit more effort for those changes to be made. But we have created a very good public-private partnership, and the National Organic Standards Board is part of that process, and farmers have an opportunity to provide testimony and share what they need in our National Organic Program. And part of Organic Farmers Association's role is making sure that those farmer voices are heard in those venues and that we're holding the National Organic Program accountable to what farmers need to be successful.
There are some people who are critical of USDA certified organic and believe it should be stronger. What would you say to people who may be hesitant about getting certified or considering dropping certification?
Mhm. Well, there's definitely, I think, some challenges we're still working through. I think that it's an interesting problem in the United States that farmers who are embodying all these great environmental services and stewardship practices are having to pay for the privilege to hold this seal. So, you know, cost is definitely a barrier to many farmers, and I understand that costs are continuing to go up and that it's hard sometimes to justify when you have consumers who already know what you're doing. But I do think that the being counted as part of the program is really important. And so we are advocating for ways to make organic certification more accessible and affordable and less burdensome, especially for small farms, so that they don't have to make that hard decision whether they need to leave the program. Um, we provide a lot of opportunities for farmers to weigh into that process and our viewpoint on that. So I just encourage farmers to get engaged with Organic Farmers Association. We always want to hear what creative ideas farmers have. Um, Also, the National Organic Program is an evolving program, and so it is not only owned by the government. It is our program because farmers are the ones who really created our domestic organic market. And OFA in particular feels that farmers have to be at the table to determine and drive its future forward. So we create opportunities for farmers to have that voice, but we also have to show up in those venues and continue to push the National Organic Program for what we feel is important, where we feel like we want to evolve to, where we feel like consumers want a clearer message in the standards of what we are doing. Many of us probably are already doing on our farms. And so I would say the National Organic Standards as they are currently doesn't have to be the exact definition of your farm. It's a tool to create a common denominator, but we're all doing additional things on our farm that we may want to communicate to our customers that may go beyond what the standards clarify. And that's not a bad thing. I think it helps paint the vision for the future of organic and where we want to continue to strive towards.
Can you tell me about the educational work the Organic Farmers Association does?
Yeah, we've really built a great farmer services program, and we do some consumer education as well. So we have a great quarterly magazine that we put out that communicates to consumers and farmers about policy issues that are happening for the movement, challenges that farmers are seeing, and the solutions that they themselves are identifying. So it's a great conversation piece and a way to stay informed on where the movement is going. We also have a farmer technical assistance hotline where we address any kind of problem that farmers are having. They can call this line, whether they have a state organization or not. And if they have a state organization that's really active in their state, then we'll connect them because sometimes they may not even know that they have a local resource. And so we serve that role as well. We help farmers find the certifier that best meets their farm goals and geographic needs. We facilitate Our education program facilitates farmer work groups so that when farmers bring to us challenges they're finding on the farm, and especially the hotline's great for that because we can kind of keep an ear to the ground of what things are challenging farmers at the moment. What are they feeling frustrated by and calling and needing help for? So we'll grab farmers together around this issue, really hone in on identifying what the problem is, and then facilitating farmers to identify the best solutions that will work on farms across the country. That's what's so great about having this national platform is that what works in the Northeast sometimes doesn't translate to work in California. And so bringing everyone to the same table, we can find a good national solution. And then OFA will take those farmer-driven solutions and help put them into policy change so that we can fix the problem at the policy level or at the programmatic level so that farmers can be successful.
The Organic Farmers Association has farmers circles. So what are they and how can they benefit farmers?
Yeah, so this is a relatively new program. We're still evolving what this looks like, but farming can be really isolating. I think I'm maybe like one of 3 certified organic farms in my county, and I don't know the other 2 organic farms. They're not very involved in the movement, and I'm definitely the only female organic farmer in my county. And so sometimes I can get a little lonely. And I know that other farmers feel the same way. And so we wanted to create a place where folks could just get together and talk about what was going on their farms, make connections with different farmers across the country, learn a little bit about an issue that's maybe coming up on the calendar for all of us, whether it's crop insurance deadlines or certification cost share or thinking about what kind of cover crops to plant and have a little bit of shared programming around an issue and then an opportunity to really have some discussion in a pretty informal venue where you could call in from your tractor or over lunchtime and meet other farmers who may be struggling with the same questions.
What are some examples of organic events the Organic Farmers Association helps to coordinate?
So, because we're national and we're still quite small and scrappy, our main event every year, which is really one of our core programming, is our Farmer Fly-In in Washington, D.C. So, this was like really why we were founded, was to be a strong voice in Washington, D.C. And so for farmers. And so we pay for farmers to travel to Washington, D.C. to educate change makers about their farm, what organic looks like in their state, and what are the challenges that farmers are seeing, and what are the solutions that we've identified that we need help from legislators to put into process. And that education piece is so important along that journey. We may not even be talking about a specific policy, but just educating legislators about organic farming and sharing the type of businesses that are thriving in their districts, and the challenges that they're seeing to grow more businesses like theirs, or even strengthen and grow their own businesses, where some support from folks in Congress could be really helpful. So that's our main event that typically happens in early March. And we show up at different organizations' conferences to share our policy agenda and get feedback from farmers, and answer any questions that they have. Sometimes we play a nice neutral role because we're national. We're not situated in a state where folks sometimes just want like an outside perspective on either an issue they're having with their certifier, or some different educational events they may want to see, and we can help bring folks to the table and find solutions. So, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Organic Voice magazine?
Yes, it's so good. If you have not seen our digital magazine, you should definitely check it out. All of our staff contribute to it, and we bring in guest writers on different topics. We're really responding to what farmers are telling us they're thinking about, and planning issues, a year in advance to try to thematically address those issues. Um, it's about 40 pages with some great advertisers in there that support the work that we do through sponsorships. And there's typically 4 feature articles. We always have a letter from our president. We always have a really interesting policy update to kind of keep a pulse on what's happening and what we're speculating for the next quarter. It's an easy read, it's free, and we also sometimes have some little sound bites on those articles that you can capture in like quick Google slides of the articles, and then decide whether you want to sit down and digest the full article to learn more.
Can you tell me about the advocacy work the Organic Farmers Association does and maybe some of the recent outcomes?
Yeah, so, like I was describing, some of it is just educating lawmakers on what the priorities of organic farmers are nationwide, and educating them about our domestic organic market nationally and in their own states, so that it's on their radar, and so that they remember to call these farmers at their meeting from their state or Organic Farmers Association when an organic issue comes up. It's really important that farmers are a part of these conversations, and we want to make sure that they are building relationships with farmers so that they're getting from the ground advice to navigate policy change. We also use our farmer work groups to influence policy. So right now we're in a very long process of a farm bill that was supposed to be done in 2023, but it's still ongoing. And, leading up to that farm bill, in 2021, we had a dairy crisis, market crisis happen in the Northeast, where one large buyer was pulling out, and 85 farms were going to lose their dairy contract. And so we began having conversations in the Northeast among dairy farms and producer groups representing dairy farms. And, in sort of like the aftermath of that conversation, we developed a national organic dairy farmer working group to talk about this issue in general at a national level, because the Northeast isn't the only place where this has happened. And so through those conversations and trust building, because dairy markets in the Northeast are very different than dairy markets in California and in the Western United States, and very different in the Southern US and in the Midwest. So it took a long time to get everybody on the same page. But that work is really valuable because what happened is we found out that the problems were actually quite similar, and the solutions we came together was a national solution that organic dairy farmers need their own safety net. And part of the strategy to get there is that we need to be collecting national organic dairy data, which we aren't, the USDA is not capturing and publishing. So folks can't make educated decisions about their own businesses or the future of the market. And we don't have real data in order to respond in a market crisis to provide appropriate safety net for dairy farmers so they can stay in business to farm another season. And so we have a couple marker bills that were introduced in 2024, and we're hoping those are introduced in this cycle of the Farm Bill. But that's like real farmer ground grassroots action into policy solutions that we know are developed by farmers because they think that they will make a real impact on their farms. That's the kind of work that we're trying to do. Really elevate farmers through that whole process of policy development, and then make sure that Congress knows that these are farmer-driven solutions, that they will really work, that they're worth putting their neck out to support, and make sure that they get into either legislation or the Farm Bill.
What are some of the main challenges for the organic agriculture movement in the US right now?
Well, I would say that maintaining domestic support for our domestic growers to meet our very large US consumer market is probably the biggest challenge. And we have to rebuild infrastructure in order to support family-owned farms, getting product from the farm to market, diversifying the amount of product they can produce and put into the market by diversifying like the processing facilities that are available, the trucking that is accessible to them. We have to really rebuild that local food and regional food system to support the growth of organic in this country. At the same time, we really need to make sure that US farmers are competing in an equitable market. And unfortunately, we are seeing some struggles with imports, and the National Organic Program has been responding with some increased enforcement to fraud of imports. And we have a new piece of legislation we've introduced called the Organic Import Verification Act that, along with other champions in the organic movement, it was a collective effort, but this would put another layer of scrutiny at points of entry into the United States just to make sure that our imports are indeed organic, so that our domestic farmers are competing in a equitable market and they can get a price that covers the cost of production, and that can be reflected in the marketplace fairly. So I would say that's one of the major challenges, really making sure we have a strong domestic farming system. The USDA over the past 5 years has invested a lot into organic technical assistance to help farmers to transition to organic, because unfortunately our numbers of organic farms and acres of organic farms has been decreasing when we need it to be increasing. And so we have to invest in this, because not only are organic farmers able to then capture this growing consumer market, but they're also providing all these great local services that we need. They're supporting clean water. They're supporting strong soil health. They're providing local wildlife habitat for species where we're losing a lot of that. They're supporting clean air and healthy communities and healthy food for healthy environments and healthy food for our communities. And so there's other benefits in investing in organic. We need to keep working on different policy angles that support that domestic growth, while at the same time, we need to make sure that our international scrutiny of imports is maintaining an equitable market, and our farmers can continue to farm organically and have strong family farms.
What can everyday people do to help grow the organic agriculture movement?
Well, joining Organic Farmers Association is a great way because we have a very large supporter membership base. And when you join, you are staying in the loop on what is progressing, what farmers need, what policies they need to be successful, and you're getting alerts on different actions that are really critical to moving the needle forward. Farmers can't move organic policy alone. We have to do it in partnership with organic consumers. And that has always been the case. The organic movement didn't come just from farmers, but they were doing it in partnership with organic consumers that wanted more organic food and wanted to feed their families really healthy product. And so, that's a partnership together that we have to maintain. Joining Organic Farmers Association keeps it in the loop, keeps you in the loop, keeps it really easy for when to know when your action is really impactful and needed.
What are your hopes for the future of the organic movement?
My hopes for the future of the organic movement as is that it continues to grow for farmer leadership and empowerment so that farmers continue to drive that movement forward, so that we expand the number of organic farmers across the country and they can be really viable businesses and support more healthy food in our communities, that we extend our certification and inspection and our national organic programs, welcoming arms out to all sorts of new farmers that haven't yet joined the movement, and that we make it a movement that really embodies the principles best defined by the International Federation of Organic Agricultural Movements, which puts a global lens on focusing on organic as the four principles of health, ecology, justice, and care. And those social principles aren't necessarily articulated in our national organic program, but that doesn't mean that that can't be where our movement is striving towards. And so building a stronger and more diverse movement is really what I think will sustain us into the next generation and will help us be able to overcome some of the hurdles we're currently seeing in the marketplace.
Are there any other things that you'd like to share?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit more about the organization and what farmers are asking for and the type of vehicles that they have to really get engaged and influence the future of organic. So thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you for being on the podcast and for all the work that you're doing for organic farms across the country. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.